Hi everyone, I'm Haley. This is Bitter Kitten Crafts. I am a knitter and a crocheter and a painter and a maker, and I live in DC, and I am using this week between Christmas and New Year's to kind of go through all my old WIPs and some of my FOs and see what I want to keep, what I want to frog, what I want to finish, and what I haven't worn really or used in the past year or so. And I'm just really excited to kind of clear out my big WIP bin and see what's in there. So I have two active WIPs that I'm going to show you guys first, just because I started them recently. They're definitely going to get finished, but I don't think I've shown them on YouTube before, so I'm kind of excited. And one is a new sweater cast on. This is the Felix Cardigan by Amy Christoffers, and it's knit in Kelbourne Woolens Lucky Tweed in the colorway Raisin, which I am loving. Look at all of the tweedy speckles. There's neon pink ones too. I'm loving this yarn. This is a non-superwash yarn, and I've only knit one other sweater in non-superwash, but I'm hoping to kind of consciously purchase a lot more non-superwash when it comes to the yarn I'm picking out, because I really like how it wears and how it kind of lasts. The signature detail of this particular sweater is the lace raglan detail here, which I think you can see okay. I'm knitting the second largest size, so this pattern doesn't have a wide range of sizes really, which is a little disappointing, but it is easily modifiable to make it bigger because all of the sizes are just additional repeats of the lace. There's no shaping, basically, just short rows. That being said, I really like this pattern. I've knit it once before, and it is one of my most worn. Oh, there, now you can see the lace. It is one of my most worn makes, for sure, the blue one that I made. So I wanted another darker, more neutral cardigan in my wardrobe, and I'm really excited to finish this. So this is not going to be a lingering WIP. This is my active project I'm going to finish hopefully this week, where I'm not nannying. It's kind of a slow, gloomy week in DC, so hopefully I get a lot of knitting done. I've already split for sleeves, so it's just stockinette on the body. But if you haven't knit a cardigan, definitely knit one. I know a lot of people are purling, but they are so wearable, and I love having the cardigans I have in my wardrobe, so definitely knit a cardigan. So what I'm wearing is, this is the Cozy Classic Light by Jessie Maed, which if you watch this channel, you know I've made 7 of them, I think, but this one is special. Obviously it's Christmassy. I've talked about it before in previous videos, but I'm just so happy with it. I'm trying to get as much mileage out of it as I can, because it's a December piece pretty much specifically, so I'm trying to milk it for all it's worth, because it was a lot of knitting. But if you haven't knit this pattern, knit this pattern. So my next WIPs that are relatively active are socks, which I know is not super exciting, but I'll just show them real fast. This is scrappy Christmas socks that I was working on that I wanted to wear on New Year's Eve, and I quite obviously did not make it. They are just you can see scraps from my sweater and random red and green scraps I had. So I didn't really follow a pattern. I just cast on 60 stitches and knit socks, and I did the Afterthought Heel for the first time. I'll link below the tutorial I used. It was from Summer Lee. She has awesome sock patterns and really helpful blog posts, so that's how I found this tutorial, and it's been going what I would consider to be really well. However, obviously it is past Christmas and these are not done. All I have, I think you can see, this is the heel, the first heel, and then I just have one more heel. So it's a shame that I didn't finish them for Christmas Eve, but they're still cute. It's fine. I kind of love how they don't match each other. They're definitely sisters, not twins, but I think it's really cute. So I also started a third Christmas sock, a second pair of Christmas socks, and this one I got a lot less far on. You can see it's also going to be an Afterthought heel, but I knit this entire sock and I was looking at it and I was this is orange, and it's cute. It's really cute. It's advertised as Hollyberry. That's the name of the colorway by West Yorkshire Spinners, but it has orange in it, and I don't really love that for a Christmas sock, to be perfectly honest. I kind of love the scrappiness and the red and greenness of these a lot more. So after knitting this entire sock in November, I pivoted to knitting these 2 socks. So this one is more of like I'm definitely not gonna frog it, but I'm also definitely not gonna prioritize finishing it. I'll probably knit this other sock, honestly, truly, like next December, which is fine with me. You know, it doesn't take up a lot of space to just keep this sock floating around in my project bin. It'll be okay. I wish it wasn't orange. Oh, and by the way, in terms of scraps, I've been on like a real brigade to not have scraps left over, so this is the only yarn left over from these socks and my sweater. Everything else is completely gone, so this is like 30 grams of yarn probably. I'm feeling very proud about that. Okay, the next project I'm gonna show is kind of like a random one. It's leg warmers, but I'm not following a pattern. So the reason that this one has been on hiatus is because this yarn has gotten, I mean, obviously like impossibly messily tangled, and that has irked me to the point of not finishing the project. But these are little leg warmers. I'm like honestly really close to being done. I'm on the second one and I'm just like literal inches away, but I haven't been bothered to untangle the yarn. So unfortunately they're on hold. I cast these on because I needed a project on wooden needles to go to a couple of concerts and stuff I was going to. And I feel like until I have another show to go to, I probably won't worry about it. However, I don't want to frog them because, one, I don't know what the heck I would do with this yarn. This is Farmer's Daughter Fibers Foxy Lady, which is like their silk blend. So I don't really, it's like single ply silk merino blend. So I don't know what else I would do with it besides what I am doing with it, because I only have one skein and it's white. There's like a random end here, which is not good because I was supposed to be pulling from the inside and the outside, which is how it got tangled. So that's like kind of concerning, but not a problem for today. This project, if you watched, I made a similar video to this last year. If you watched that video, don't judge me for the fact that I still haven't frogged this project. I like, in my little heart of hearts, I was like, oh, I can finish it. You know, like, why would I frog it? It's a lot of knitting and it's fingering weight yarn. So I won this yarn in a giveaway. It's real cool looking, but it's definitely not a color palette I would gravitate towards. I hate red a lot of the time. But recently, I've come around to it. I really have. But there was a long period of my life where I just like really hated red. So I'm planning to pivot with this yarn and hold it with a mohair that is red, because this is just like fingering weight sock yarn. And in the giveaway, I won 3 skeins. This was in 2019, I think. And I started a Ripple crop top by Jessie Maed. And I made, quite obviously, like a ton of progress. This is so much knitting and fingering weight yarn on size 3 needles. And I had the back panel and I had the front panels, but I don't know how to do short rows. Well, now I do, obviously, but at the time I didn't. And so I just completely abandoned the entire project. And I feel like kind of sad about that, but I don't feel sad enough about it to do anything about it now, 4 years later. So I'm just gonna rip the entire thing out and start a new sweater. The other reason I'm gonna frog this is because I didn't know much about gauge at the time that I was knitting this. This is one of my first garments that I tried to knit, and I didn't understand that like the gauge was intended to be loose. So I went down 3 needle sizes from the intended needle size. Obviously it does not fit me. It's like tiny, 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 tiny. Even if you stretch it, it's not, the gauge is really tight. Like you can barely, it's not really the intended ease or drape of the garment that you're supposed to achieve when you knit this pattern. It's supposed to be like a summery pattern. This would be a hot sweater. This would be so warm. You know, this is basically 2 entire skeins of fingering weight yarn. This is a third. This is enough for like a beautiful long sleeve sweater with mohair. So I think that's my best choice now going forward, and I am going to frog this one. So thank God we got one in the frog pile. Don't remind me that this was in the frog pile last year and I didn't frog it. That's beside the point. All right, next up, we have one that I'm honestly not sure about. I don't know what to do with it. So I have this yarn that I got at the Upcycle Creative Reuse Center here in Alexandria, Virginia, which is a really cool place if you're local to me. If you're not local to me, you should see if you have a similar one in your area. It's like a craft thrift store. So they have a lot of wonderful, beautiful supplies. You never know what you're gonna find. They also have so much yarn. And a lot of it is actually nice, good yarn. So I found this yarn. Ooh, the label's looking a little sad. So this is BC Garn Tussah Tweed. It's 100% silk, and it is the color of my skin. Thank you for reminding me of that. So I took this home because it was like 10 bucks for 2 of them. Yes, it is the color of my skin. That has been the major holdup to using this yarn. It's really cool. I'm a tweed girl. I love tweed. As you can see by my other tweed sweater, it is not a flattering color for my skin tone. So that's been a major holdup. I've cast a couple things on with this, and I have lost steam on all of them, partially because this yarn is so thin and fine, and partially because, yeah, it is, this is a naked shirt that I'm making. So I cast on the Heya tank by Kiyomi Bergen, and that's what this is, this little guy. This is the Heya tank. But I cast it on in the round because it is a pattern that you knit 2 panels and seam, which I'm now understanding that is for creating structure in your garment. And I honestly realistically should frog it and begin the 2 panels. I should also probably figure out like maybe stripe this with something, because the tweed is so, let's see, how can I show it? There we go. The tweed is so cool. It's got like white and black and bright orange tweed, but this is not it for me. I feel sad. I want to knit with 100% silk. Like I want to own a silk tank top. That sounds beautiful. Not in these circumstances. So this will be frogged. So that's 2 for the frog pile. I have another one for the frog pile. This is, oh, I don't remember the name of it. I'll have to put it up on the screen. This is beautiful Madeline Tosh fingering weight single ply yarn. This is the colorway Pegasus in Tosh Merino Light, and this is like amethyst or something, opal maybe, some sort of stone. But this color is so beautiful. This Pegasus color, I had like coveted it. I had 2 skeins of it in my stash for years, probably since 2016. I got it from the Knot House in Frederick, Maryland, which is now sadly closed. It used to be my favorite yarn store when I lived up there. I cast on this Amba O'Brien lace shawl. I was certainly overly ambitious with my lace knitting skills because I messed up somewhere. This is like 2 days of knitting, I think. And then I messed up somewhere and I was like, screw it. I'm not doing this again. I'm not going to try to frog and find my mistake. I'm either going to rip out the entire thing and start the same shawl over, or I'm just going to knit something else with the yarn, because this yarn is beautiful. I love this color. But the thought of knitting, it's supposed to be 12 repeats of this. So it's like 12 of these bumps, these garter ridges, and then 12 lace identical panels. The thought of finishing that makes me want to cry. So this is going into the frog pile, but this is going into the frog pile with like the caveat that this yarn is at the top of my priority list to use. It's so beautiful. I love the colors. I think it's like coming across okay, but my lighting's sort of poor. It's like a gloomy, rainy, you can see the fog behind me. It's like we're working with what we got on lighting. It is single ply, so my choices are like sort of limited. I purchased this before I understood that single ply wasn't fully applicable in all situations, but I am really, really happy to have the colors, and I am certainly planning to use this yarn in 2024, but not in this project because I am not knitting 12 panels of lace. Okay, let's look at the only sweater WIP that I have that I have been letting linger for a long time. So this I cast on, I believe, in the summer of 2022. And it is the Amy cardigan by Joji Locatelli. I didn't follow all of the pattern. I followed the body pattern, and then for the ribbing around the neck, it was supposed to be like the kind where you pick up a stitch every row, and I tried it 5 or 6 times and I like couldn't do it. The instructions for this pattern were so miserable for me. Let me know if you've knitted this pattern. Let me know if you've knitted another Hohi pattern, because I've tried 2 of her patterns now for sweaters. I can't understand it. It's a lot of like, count this many rows while you're counting this many rows, while you're keeping track of the stripe repeat, short rows in 3 places. Like, never again will I do anything like this. It turned out beautiful only because of the yarn. So this is one of my favorite color palettes, honestly, grays and purples together. I've crocheted an entire blanket in this color palette too. I love it. These are all of my mohair scraps. So this is my favorite mohair scrap of all time. This is from the Scran Stitcher. I love this color. These colors are so good. It's like black mohair with neon pink and orange and purple. So this color palette is like my ideal color palette, and it knits up so cool. I think you can see a stripe of it right there. But yeah, this is just all my mohair scraps. So this is like a sack of scraps. I really hope to finish this. Honestly, I'm close. I have 2 sleeves, which I think is like a common issue for people, including myself, where you just like give out at the sleeves and you just don't keep going. But I struggled even with the sleeves too. I didn't do the short rows you were supposed to do. And I picked them up and I was like, oh, it's fine. Like, I'm overdoing short rows. I'm over screwing up places on this pattern and messing it up. Like, I just want to finish it. And I picked it up, and then it turns out that you actually need the short rows because it's like a tube. And if it's a straight tube coming off, then it doesn't have this like wedge of fabric up at the top that you need to make it slant down. Otherwise you have like a bunch of fabric right here. So I knitted 3/4 of the sleeve, and it looked, I mean, terrible is like an understatement, but I ripped it all out and I knitted the most hideous short rows of all time. You can see them here, but I was just like, screw it. They're finished. They're done. I can't do anything about it now. My picking up for the collar, hideous, but it's done. I can't do anything about it now. The way I knitted the collar makes the cardigan all shrinky and gimpy looking. Like, see how it does all that puckering? It's puckered on the bottom. This is like a train wreck of a project, a train wreck of a sweater. I never want to knit anything like it again. I never want to knit a sweater where I'm keeping track of 4 different increases at the same time again. Because if you can see, it's like a V-neck cardigan. So you're keeping track of the stripe count, the V-neck shaping, the back raglan shaping, all at the same time. Can't recommend that. Nope, don't do that. But the fabric is beautiful, and that is only to do with the yarn. Only to do with the yarn that I like the sweater. I do like want it in my wardrobe eventually, but I don't want it enough to have finished it at the time. But I think what I'll probably do is after I finish my Felix cardigan, I'll just like suck it up and knit the sleeves, because I really feel morally obligated to not have this in a bag. This is hours of knitting. This is a really long sweater. Like, look at that. That's a lot of work that I put into this 2 years ago that I feel like I should take advantage of that. I mean, the color palette's awesome. I love it. I haven't woven in any of the ends for the stripes. There's ends everywhere. So yeah, this is like a hot mess express of a project, but I feel morally obligated to finish it. It's unlike me. It's truly unlike me to let sweater whips linger, but it's only because this pattern kicked my butt that I let it linger like this, and I don't think I'll ever knit a Hohi Locatelli pattern again, ever. No offense. If you like her, that's awesome. I know she's like a prolific designer. I have struggled with this pattern and Like a Cloud, which is another cardigan she designed. So I am gonna show one crochet whip, only because it's like a super long-term project and I'm really proud of it, to be honest. So this is the Ariana cardigan. I don't know if you can see how many squares I have. I have 32 out of 68 squares finished. So that's like, I'm gonna say it's half, right? That's like almost half. They are all each different. They're all, it's like worsted weight scraps. So I have, you know, there's like a billion of them. I'm trying to decide what color to do the edging of each of the squares with, because it's supposed to be like a, it has like knitted ribbing but then it has like granny square for the body. So it's super cute. I'll put a picture of it. This is like a magnum opus project for me. I love granny square so much. And this project is like kind of just a background burner. So she's definitely not getting frogged. I mean, that would be stupid to frog all these little tiny bits of yarn, but it's not like a priority make. It's something where if I'm going somewhere and I need a small project, I'll like bring the yarn to make a couple squares, or in between sweaters, I'll crochet for a couple days before I switch back to starting a new sweater. But this one is here to stay. I might finish it in 2024. I might finish it in 2025. I'm like not super worried about it. But I am feeling good that I'm like, we'll call it halfway. I'm halfway done. I'm halfway done. That's not even close to true because you have to crochet granny triangles to fill in the gaps. So realistically, I'm like a third of the way done, but you know what? Oh, and I have to knit all the ribbing and crochet all the edging. Like, listen, I'm nowhere close to done with this, but I love it. And I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about it. I'm just worried about enjoying my little granny square train that I'm always on in the background of everything. So as I mentioned, I have a couple of FOs that I also want to show because I'm planning on frogging them and I want them to like see the light of day one more time before they bite the dust. So one of them is really old FO that I never weaved in the ends in or wore. Sorry, I just woke up Boo by moving this. Sorry, Boo. So this is the Ripple Bralette by Jessie Maed. This is knit in the sock blank, which is cool. It's really beautiful. I got a sock blank as a gift, I think, and I didn't know how the heck to use it because at the time I really did not knit socks. So I knit this entire tank top, blocked it, and then just let it sit in my bin like this with all these stupid ends for like literal years. I think I knit this in like August of 2020. So now I'm looking at it and I'm like, man, it would be cool to have yellow socks. It would be really cool to have these beautiful socks in my wardrobe. And this is a lot of yarn. I could easily get a pair of socks out of this and still have some stuff left over. So I definitely want to knit socks out of this. The yarn, I couldn't tell you what it is, but it's a lot of yarn. And this is another situation where I just didn't really understand like gauge. It doesn't fit that well. I knit it to a weird length where the ribbing gets like sucked up under my boobs, which I hate. But the yarn is soft and now I knit socks. So the best case scenario is to turn this into a pair of socks I'll wear all the time. I think that is a really good way to repurpose this yarn because it's really cute. Like, look at that bright yellow. I love yellow. I know that's not a common, like not everybody loves yellow. I love yellow. So this Ripple Bralette will be biting the dust. I have knit this pattern like 6 times, I think, back when I was learning about garment construction and garments and how to shape things and, you know, how to decrease and increase. This was an amazing pattern for that. So I do have 3 of them that I wear pretty regularly. Like one of them I like sleep in and stuff, and a couple of them that I wear outside. This just wasn't one that was, it was one of the earlier iterations. And so the later tries I do really like. I would highly recommend this pattern. I just can't get behind this particular iteration, especially when these could make such cool socks. Look at that. That would make awesome socks. I have one FO from 2023 that I kind of hate. I haven't worn it out. You can see I haven't even worn in the ends, woven in the ends. I don't know what to do about it because the yarn is amazing, but the FO is not. And it has to do with, I think, my gauge. It has to do with, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. This is the Big Rib by Jessie Maed, and I knit it in a cone of undyed merino wool from the Maryland Alpaca Festival that I got a couple years ago, and also Surrey from Maelstrom Fiber Arts. I'll put their name below. And it's kind of like an off-whitish with little pink speckles that I don't even know if you can see, but the color is really, really pretty and wintry, and the yarn is so soft, but I just don't love the fit of this garment. It doesn't like flatter me that much. It's too tight, I think, and it's just not like the ribbing is not draping how I want it to. So I have a couple choices, and I think before I frog this, I am gonna reblock it. You can kind of see in the arm that like the ribbing isn't relaxed really. It's like very much still like cinched. And so what I think I'm gonna have to do is maybe soak it for like overnight or for several hours, and let it just relax and let the fibers kind of bloom and see how it fits then. Because I'm picking cat hair off it, by the way. Because right now, I've never worn it. I would love to. The Surrey yarn is so soft. It's like a beautiful winter blue. And I just feel like this sweater deserves better than what I've given it. It's so soft and squishy. It is like not, like it looks small. And I think that's because of the ribbing. I think if I block it, it will grow hopefully to maybe like 3 or 4 more inches of ease. That would be ideal. But I do not like it as it is. I would knit this pattern again. I would probably knit this pattern again in like fingering held double or something, just to kind of use up some scraps and see what happens with the drape of that. I feel like the drape of that might be nicer than the drape of this, because this cone yarn is really pretty, but it's very like loosely spun. I'm not sure if you can see, it's like bumpy and stuff. It's very soft, but it's non-superwash, and I think that this sweater, it needs like more weight almost to give it the drape that is shown in the FOs of the designer. It needs like a substantial weight behind it to drape nicely on the body and to keep the ribs stretched out, because right now they're just so like scrunched. I think it could be better. Like, see how the ribbing is like it should be like this, I think, but it's instead not. So I'm going to try to give this a really good soak and a really good blocking. I'll maybe put in my next podcast episode like what happens with this sweater, if I frog it or if I keep it. But right now, she's like in between. She deserves a better life than what I've given her. My last FO I'm going to frog is, I'm like really sad to frog this one, but I just don't wear it enough, and I want to kind of give this yarn a better life. So this is the Letha shawl. It's designed by my friend Laura of Fox and Honey Fibers, and this was my test knit for her. So I have actually since knit this shawl twice, one as a gift for my mom and one for myself. Since I knit this one, I've knitted twice. I love the lace. Look how cute those little flowers are. This is like the perfect little spring shawl, spring wrap, but I ran out of yarn on this one. And so it doesn't have the full pattern repeat that's supposed to be in it, and it's just like very small. And so my hope is that I'm going to frog this and actually use maybe the Pegasus yarn that I showed earlier to kind of create a new version for myself. This yarn is from an advent calendar from the Little Foxes Knits, who I have like really enjoyed getting her advent calendar almost every year for the past 4 years, and this yarn definitely deserves to be worn. It's like gingerbread frosting colored, and it's so cute with the purple. So I really want to give this yarn its best life. It's so soft, and I feel that this project and this yarn both deserve kind of better than being stuck in a bin in my FOs that I don't wear. Like, this is from 2020, and when I was knitting in 2020, I was like not at my best, which is true of a lot of us, but I believe that if I knit this again now, and the times I have knit this again after, it's just turned out a lot better. Which it's interesting to look back and see that most of my knitting from 2020 has been frogged, has not been kept. It was just like a very hard time for not just me, but a lot of people. And so a lot of my FOs that I made during that time, although I had so much knitting time, I made a lot of stuff that I didn't keep, that I'm frogging now, years later, that I realize has been sitting in the bottom of my FOs this whole time. And it's really interesting to kind of observe that and say, wow, like I had so much knitting time at that point in my life, but I wasn't really at my best knitting performance. And so that's okay. you know, to kind of take all of this stuff that I've knit in 2020 and say, okay, we're gonna let it go, we're gonna move on, we're gonna reuse the yarn and make it better and more beautiful. And that's what I'm doing with actually 2 of the 3 things I just showed. They're all from 2020. And they'll get their new life, the yarn will get its day in the sun, and it'll kind of be a full circle moment, which I like. Anyways, I've talked enough about these old projects. I'm gonna go get to frogging, actually, which is like kind of fun. And I will see you guys in my next couple videos. I have a bunch of stuff planned for January for YouTube. I think a lot of us are ready to move on from Vlogmas. Time for new non-Christmas related stuff. Christmas is tough. Christmas is really tough. And it's better to just like move on, start fresh, new year, new WIPs. Same cat. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. The next video I put out will probably be everything I made in 2023, so keep an eye out for that. And I'm also planning to put out some more crochet videos since you guys seem to really like them. So thanks so much for watching. Have a happy new year. Have a happy week of doing nothing. I hope for that for you. And yeah, thank you for watching.